Hello, everyone. I'm waiting to go live. I know I'm live, but as far as my exploring the world of shamanism, so I'm going to just take a few minutes and let everybody kind of get logged in. So just thank you for everyone that's joining me and today. So just take a few minutes. I'm just going to kind of sit in silence and let everyone get logged in. Thanks for being here. Hello, everyone. Feel free, if you are already plugged into the live feed, that if you have any questions regarding shamanism, go ahead and start commenting any questions or insights that you would like for me to cover today when it comes to the workshop. So all right. So glad you guys are here. Very glad you're here. I'll just give a few more minutes, let more people get logged in, and we'll begin as far as the exploring the worlds of shamanism. Like I said, hi Sylvia. Hi Jerry. Like I said, for those of you that are logged in, go ahead if you have certain topics or questions that you want to make sure that I cover. If I don't get it to you as far as the answers and insights during the workshop, I can always go back in to the comment section and answer your questions. So Sylvia's asking, is this my new office space? Yes, it is. So I'll get out of the way so you can see other product and stuff that I have. Hi Diane, how are you? So good to see you. Oh my goodness. It's been a long time, girl. So, I love seeing everyone's face pop up with your page here, as far as those that are popping in. So good to see you. Here's my little brochure with my logo. It's kind of fun. I know the wording's probably backwards. Somebody's saying they can barely hear me. I'm going to turn the volume up. Let me know. Johnny, is that better? Jerry's asking, does Animal Speak by Andrews have anything to do with shamanism? Absolutely yes. Hi Norma, it's good to see you. Oh, hi Nita, thank you. I look forward to meeting you at some point. Hi Jenny. So today we're going to explore the wonderful worlds of shamanism. By the way, my name is Tammy Barton, and I own and operate my business called Illuminating the Soul. It's a very multifaceted business, I would say, with everything that I absolutely love to do. One is actually healing work. I'm a licensed massage therapist. I've been doing massage for 16 years now, and specialized also in craniosacral therapy and working directly with the central nervous system and different aspects of the brain, as far as the function of the brain. and trauma, abuse, and neglect. And shamanism is also another facet that I have spent a lot of time studying, doing apprenticeships, doing Temescals or sweat lodges down in Mexico with different shamans. And I'll be kind of sharing with you some of my personal experiences, but also the similarities and differences throughout the different shamanic cultures. And I also teach 3 different workshops, weekend intensive workshops throughout the year. Usually the first one's in the spring, second's in the summer, and then the last one's in the fall. And I am in the process of putting together a workshop that's based in shamanic healing. And so, but today I want to cover, like I said, some of the similarities and differences and answer any of the questions that you may have. And like I said, if I get to those questions today, as I'm seeing you guys pop up in the news, in the feed below, I will try to answer as many questions as I can. And if not, I will revisit as far as the feed and your questions and answer them throughout this weekend, okay? So just stay tuned. And so, but my business, Illuminating the Soul, like I said, is very multifaceted with healing work that I do. I do workshops, I do spiritual adventures and travel, usually down to Mexico, where we actually integrate ourselves kind of within the Mayan culture, and you have the opportunity to do a Temescal or sweat lodge as well, to kind of have your own personal experience within the shamanic realms. So, but I just want to thank you guys for being here today and taking time out of your schedule to connect and be interested in the world of shamanism. So I studied with Hank Wesselman, who was an anthropologist by trade, and he's primarily based in Polynesian shamanism. I've done some week-long intensive workshops with him, learned a lot about the healing facets of shamanism, the personal journeys that we partake in as well. And I've studied with Hank quite a bit. And he has several books out there. So if you're not familiar with him and wanting to find and learn more about shamanism, I highly recommend his books. Once again, his name is Hank Wesselman. I've also studied Peruvian shamanism through the Pachacuti Mesa tradition. I did a year-long apprenticeship with Daniel Baxley and explored the Peruvian aspects of things, and put together a mesa. And I teach putting together a mesa in my own personal workshops that I share throughout the year, and have studied like with the healing aspects and also the very personal pilgrimages of working with different crystals and stones and the earth elements, and I'll talk a little bit about that today. And then I've also studied Mayan shamanism, and like I said, I've done a lot of spiritual travels and group travels down to Mexico, and I've done several sweat lodges, Temescals there, and then connected with the Mayan community and different shamans. And so I'm very cross-cultural, and like I said, there's a lot of times many similarities, but then also very unique differences. So many of the similarities within shamanism that you think about essentially is the healing facet. And we all have our own divine right in healing. We all have our issues in the tissues and different areas in our life where we have that personal growth, sometimes triggers that can kind of come up and come along that really provoke sometimes some very profound healing. And that's one facet specifically that the shaman would play its roles in, as far as, let's say, the Aboriginal tribes in the backcountry. But there's so much of a calling today within many shamanic cultures, and even just us as a community in the Kansas City area and extended areas, of really wanting to kind of get back to our roots. And shamanism goes way back, as far as, and if you think about all the different Aboriginal tribes, they had a shaman or a medicine man or a medicine woman that would work with the herbs, different tinctures, work with the land itself, and also the divination of being connected to the spirit realm as far as their guides and their angels, and really orchestrating healing work on behalf of an individual that's a part of the tribe, but also as far as the community as a whole. So it can be very individualistic, but then also really working with the community. And so one of those things that has really come up, if you think about this year, there's been a lot of that's different events that's been happening that's really been calling forth an activation in people of trying to make things better, communicate better, showing up better. And so within the world of shamanism, it really gives you that opportunity to do your own healing work, and many times within that, different life events. And so different life events will kind of take place that will pole vault you into your shadow and do the individual work that's calling forth as far as really working through your fears, working through those intense emotions, and being able to find ways and working with your spiritual allies and your own soul as far as that growth and the cultivation of healing. And then being able to have empathy and compassion for those around you. And so healing is one facet that is a similarity across culturally, no matter where you go in the world. When it comes to shamanism, there's usually a medicine man or medicine woman that's a part of the culture or the community that's orchestrating healing on their behalf. Like I said, as an individual and then also as a community. The other similarity is doing journey work. In some cultures they'll call it meditation, but primarily you'll hear it called journey work. And that is a form of meditation, I would say, where many times the shaman is led by a drum beat, which is like 4 beats a second, that entrains your brain waves into an altered state or a trance-like meditation that gets you out of this, I would say, earthly realm and more into the spiritual realm, and sets your, like I said, your brain waves and inner workings as far as getting into that altered state or altered place and peace to be. And I'm more relaxed to kind of let the weight of the world essentially go and open you up in ways that kind of allows that sense of spirituality and letting the heavens in, this different areas of working with your guides and your angels and connecting with them on a very deep, heartfelt, heart space, emotional way. And it's many shamans and shamanic apprentices will do this for divination, for insights, for healing. Once again, on behalf of, let's say, the client or person that they're working with that have come to them for healing, or once again, the community of the world as a whole. And so that journey work contains 3 different worlds. So the lower world, the middle world, and the upper world. And so the lower world is essentially, if you think about different ways that you can enter into the lower world, essentially you got to use your imagination. So whenever I teach my workshops throughout the year, I talk about different ways, and I invite my students to be able to kind of share, well, on a creative endeavor way, what ways can you think of entering into the lower world? And many will say, well, an opening in, let's say, the ground, a hole, or a well, walking down stairs, or a portal through a tree. And once again, you're using your imagination and that creativity part as far as entering into the lower world. The lower world consists of, a lot of times, your power animals. So think about different animals that you are connected to and have resonated with in your life. They all bring different medicinal properties and healing properties to you. My personal ones, I'm connected to the raven. Lately, an owl image and facet have kind of come through. But raven has always been with me, and ravens are like shapeshifters. So they kind of cross between this earthly realm and the spiritual realm. And they're winged ones, so they can just fly. They can soar and look at things from a different perspective. One thing with power animals is that they can sometimes, let's say in your journey, you can connect with them. Sometimes they'll speak English. They speak your language, whether it's Spanish, English, whatever it may be, or they may orchestrate communication non-verbally and want to take you someplace. And so in your journey work, in your meditation time, when you journey to the different worlds, it's all a representation of who you personally are and different events and other people that are in your life to provide those beautiful insights as far as if you're having trouble, let's say at work or with a family member or with your partner, significant other, and you have some questions or just kind of wonderings as far as what your next step or move may need to be, or kind of guidance and direction and ways to be able to show up better. And so within that, you can call forth in the lower world any animals, power animals that want to show up for you, and sit and be with them as if you would be in this ordinary realm. If you have dogs or cats or any other animals that you physically connect with, it's no different in the spirit realm of being able to connect with them and in that meditation time and journey work time, and let them communicate with you, let them do healing work with you. And I've had many beautiful experiences where they've taken me to other places and other facets of landscapes that I've never been to before. And what's really quite interesting and fascinating is that a lot of times in the journey work, and I'm visiting different landscapes and different parts of the world that they're leading me to, lo and behold, different times when I'm out hiking or traveling, a certain tree or a certain building or landscape will mirror the exact imagery that was in the journey. And so we're all connected. And so that's one of the really fascinating things I would say within the shamanic realm, is that the spirit realm is as much alive and as a part of us as this earthly realm, as we're connecting with one another today. So a lot of times within the lower world, it's a teaching and healing, deep teaching, deep healing area that you can enter into. So the lower world is one part of the journey work with divination, insights, and healing that you can go to. The next is the middle world. Okay? The middle world is much more like this earthly arena. So my mentors and teachers, Hank and Daniel and Barbara and Tina, have really taught me that this middle world is very much a representation of essentially what you're going through right now, and even what you've been through in your past and where you're going in the future. And so many people will come as far as like the shamanic healing in for a session and be really struggling with a particular situation that's in their life. And I'll have them go on a journey as far as to the middle world for that deep healing and really gain insights and direction on their life. And it's all about empowering you as an individual to know that you have the answers that you need within. And so within that, the middle world really also consists of your teachers and your mentors and those people that and friends and family that are the closest to you, that have made the biggest impact, whether that's in a healthy way or sometimes not a healthy way, because they're all teachers that are showing up for you to help you to your highest and greatest good. So the other thing that I've been taught as far as journeying to the middle world is if you can't find your keys or if there's an item that's lost and you can't find it and you're trying to figure it out, you can put that energy or that question out there and see what shows up in your journey work to the middle world that can help you find the answers in this earthly arena. The last world that we're going to explore is essentially the upper world. And that's essentially the connection with the divine, with God, with your ancestors. And the goal, a lot of times the analogy that in many shamanic cultures they kind of share is that almost like the tree of life. So if you look at the tree as a whole, you have the root system at the bottom, which is as big and spread out as the branches on the upper are. And so many representations within the shamanic, the journeys, and the lower, middle, and upper, the lower is a representation of the tree roots. It's rooted, and you want to make sure that you have a really good foundation, because you really can't have the lower without the middle and the upper. And so the middle part of the journey work is essentially the trunk of the tree. The upper is the upper branches. It's almost like a reaching up to the heavens. And so within the upper world, it's very light. It's almost as if you're journeying up to heaven. A lot of students of mine have kind of experienced like an ether as far as kind of transcending into the clouds. And so it's beyond this ordinary realm. And so it gives you the opportunity, once again, to kind of connect in with your ancestors, those loved ones that have transcended on to the other side. And I'll kind of share a personal experience. And during one of my Temescals, my sweat lodges that I had down in Mexico, and it was back in 2015. I was there in January, and it was my first experience of doing a sweat lodge. And the shaman that we connected with was of Lakota tradition, the Mayan tradition. So we kind of did this beautiful blend of both. And I went on the journey, and one of the journeys and one of the facets of the sweat lodge was to connect in with my ancestors. And my grandmother on my dad's side came through, and it was beautiful. It was my grandma Jewel. I loved seeing her. She was one of the sweetest, if not the sweetest person I've ever met. And the fact that she was my grandmother, she never said anything bad about anybody. And I just loved being in her presence. And so I just sat with her in the upper world as if we were talking like we are today. And one of the things that she wanted to share with me was in preparation for finding out some information and getting word of the illness with my dad. And I already had a sense or knowing or feeling that something was off. And here I am down in Mexico, my mom and dad are watching my dogs. But I just had this sense and feeling in this Temescal, in the sweat lodge, my grandma showed up and sharing with me that my dad's not doing well. Things are shifting and changing, and just to really be prepared that whenever I go back home, just to be ready for that shift and change. And it was going to be like going like lightning speed. And so within that, I was very grateful for that information. And what's really interesting is that during that journey, I kind of sat in meditation after that and really prepared myself for whatever may come, whenever it may come. Because sometimes we really like instant gratification, and other times it's truly spirit-led as far as when those events and timings and things are really orchestrated on our behalf. So I wasn't sure what to expect when I got home. Well, lo and behold, when I got home, my mom and dad had something to share with me. And my dad had gone in for a checkup with his oncologist. And sure enough, his leukemia, that it was pre-leukemia, had been activated and had shown up in his blood work, that his white blood cell count and the leukemia essentially was activated, and his oncologist essentially said you had 6 months to 12 months to live. Which I go back to that journey with my grandmother and providing that insight that she came forward with was very pivotal as far as in preparation, rather than really it being a shock. Not that it wasn't, but it really gave me a sense of comfort because I knew that she was there. She was going to be there for my dad and the rest of my family. But that's how pivotal and how healing and revealing and insightful a journey work and the meditation time can be. And so, and also comforting as well to know that your ancestors and guides and angels are all here, not alone, really aiding and assisting as far as your journey and the connections that you have on a very personal level as well. And so I knew as the journey was going to happen with my dad as far as, and sure enough, he had 5 months to live. He passed away in May of 2015. And so another facet as far as really connecting in with your spiritual allies and your ancestor within the shamanic realm, my dad continued after he passed to continue to come forward. And so I've had many, and this is something that you guys can do too. If you feel like a loved one is around, really open yourself up to that imaginary realm, as if, I don't know if when you were your kid, you had an imaginary friend that was as real to you as, like I said, you and I talking today. And so give yourself that opportunity to explore and communicate with the spirit realm, with your angels, your guides, and your ancestors. So like for me, with my dad and my grandmother, there is a life to me as if they were here. Even though I miss them in this physical earthly realm, they are still, their souls and spirits are as live as if they were here today. And so The other thing that you can do, and when different clients come in, that is a cross-cultural similarity in the wonderful world of shamanism, is really working with your amakua, your oversoul, which is also the highest essence of who you are and what you came into this incarnation to do and to be and to strive for. Different life lessons that you're going to go through, or if you've already been through, and what you've learned. And it can really serve as a wonderful connection within yourself and gaining that guidance and direction. So many of the journeys that I went on whenever I was studying with Hank within the Polynesian is to your amakua, and really opening those gates, those portals of insight of really what you came into this incarnation to be, let's say, professionally in your work, in your relationships. Maybe you're here to be a mother. Maybe you're here to be a father, a beacon of light, any number of things. And you can really gain some really tremendous insights of who and what you are. And sometimes when you're in the mud and muck, which I feel like a lot of us probably have been this year, to really strive forth and not just look at really what's immediately in front of you, because it's been intense. It's been a really intense year, and I've had so many clients come in saying, man, I need some help trying to really figure out as far as where I'm going and where is this going. And it's really shaken a lot of people's foundation, and maybe your own, as far as, and recatapulted you in ways that you never thought. And essentially that can be what can happen. So in journeying on behalf of, like, let's say with your amakua, your oversoul, that highest knowing of yourself, you can gain those insights even in the mud and muck of the unknown. And if you're having fear, ask for help from your allies and your ancestors and your amakua for guidance and direction, and for that love and that support, so that you do not feel like you're by yourself. And so that's one thing within the shamanic realm. The spirit realm is as vital, is as present, is as loving, as if it's alive and no different than this earthly arena. So please do not forget that. Do not forget that you are not alone. Okay? So another similarity, so like I said, if any of you that are chimed in now have any questions, don't hesitate to comment on the bottom. I will try and get to your questions, and like I said, if I don't get to them in this workshop, I will go back and I'll answer as the best that I can, because I want to make sure I cover kind of those areas that you're also interested in. So another facet that's very similar, because I talked about the three worlds, the lower, middle, and upper world, and different ways to be able to connect in. Also another facet that's a similarity is connecting with your amakua, your oversoul, and also the healing aspect of things, which that's one of the biggest facets of shamanism, and soul retrieval. So if you are ever feeling like you're off, something is not right, and you just don't feel like eating, or you're not thriving as much as you used to, or you've had a significant event like trauma, abuse, and neglect, or a job loss, or a relationship that hasn't gone or ended, and you are just not feeling like yourself, a lot of times in shamanic traditions, there's been soul loss. And so that's one thing that the shaman will do, is reconnect you with the lost pieces. And many of us have gone through many different types of events throughout. I know I personally have. And I'm always calling forward. I call me, all of me, and only me back to me. And it's one of the things that I also offer is soul retrieval and shamanic healing. And the goal is to be able to create an environment. So if there are areas in your life where you don't feel safe with a particular person or situation, the goal is to shift that into a higher vibration to where you personally feel safe. And then the goal is to make those healthy transitions and changes, so that whenever you do enter into shamanic healing and you do enter into the soul retrieval and calling all your pieces or a piece back to you, so that you do feel whole and complete and you don't feel off or something's missing. The goal is to feel as whole and complete as you possibly can. Now, life's going to happen, so give yourself some grace and compassion and understanding with that. And you can have several soul retrievals. I have clients that will come in and just knowing that something's not right. Tammy, can you kind of help guide and assist in that? And that's one of the things that shamanism provides for you. I've had several clients that have come in and they've gone from doctor to doctor to doctor to doctor and trying to figure out something's not right. And they're not coming up with a particular diagnosis. And so they're in this realm of, I don't know what else to do. And I've worked with shamanic healing and soul retrieval on behalf of my clients to kind of aid and assist in empowering them to regain their light, to regain their soul, and kind of feeling whole and complete. And my goodness, it's one of those things that I've seen miracles happen as far as an illness go away and not be existent at all. Fibromyalgia just disappear. And it takes two. I can aid and assist, but the goal is to empower you to show up and do the work as well, and those transitions and changes that need to partake in your life so that you can feel whole and complete. And so that's one thing that many shamans will do as far as aiding and assisting as far as individuals within the soul retrieval and shamanic healing. And one thing with the shaman, which really is a differentiation with, let's say, modern day doctors, okay? One of the biggest differentiations is that the shaman never works alone. Never works alone. It's always asking for guidance, help, and aid and assistance from the spirit world, from their own different spiritual allies, their guides, their angels, and power animals that want to come forth to provide healing and insight. And so anytime that I'm working with a client, I'm always calling in assistance and help, not only from my own personal guides, but also from your guides that want to come in, your Amakua, your Oversoul, your knowing, to provide those depths of insights and healing on your behalf. And that's one thing a lot of times with a doctor, they'll work alone, sometimes in a team, but how often are you familiar with a doctor or a specialist that's calling in the spiritual world? And that's one of the unique things within the shamanic realm, with the shamanic healing, that really differentiates as far as that power and ability to be able to kind of work within the spirit realm. And whenever I was working with Hank, he, the first week intensive, I'll kind of share another personal story, he led a healing session with one of the other participants that was a part of the workshop. And so powerful. We were all drumming, once again, those 4 beats a second to kind of get in that altered state and trance. And on the second portion of the workshop, the apprenticeship, there was another healing session that was coming up, and there was a gentleman that was there with his dad that had recently had a diagnosis, and he was going through an illness that they were kind of running out of options. And Hank knew that there was someone, he wasn't going to be leading it, but there was going to be someone, and part of the group that had gathered together to learn, that was going to lead it. And Spirit essentially led him to ask me to lead the healing, which I was taken back a little bit. But within that, one of the fascinating things that took place was on his behalf, once again, calling in the resources, the guides, the angels to kind of orchestrate the healing on his behalf. I had these little ants come through, and it was fascinating to me. They just kind of, as they were marching through, they just kind of looked at me like, we've got this. And I'm like, ants, really? You know? Because you don't want to be in judgment with any of the animals that come through, but it's like, sometimes you do kind of like, really? What? And they just kind of kept marching in, which is really fascinating. I'm like, okay, you guys got this. And, you know, letting them do their magic and their work. So here I am, I'm working on this guy, and I've got the other allies. Everyone is around drumming, and these ants marched in one by one. Some of you that are popping in may have already heard this story, but it's just so fascinating to me within the shamanic realm how it's magic, I'm telling you. These ants marched in one by one and knew exactly in his body where to go to where the cancer was. It took pieces and pieces and pieces one by one and marched right back out. And lo and behold, the next time this gentleman went in for his doctor's checkup, the cancer was gone. He had gone through chemotherapy, he'd gone through radiation. It wasn't going away. In orchestrating the shamanic healing, I wasn't working alone. It wasn't just me. It was the group as a whole. It was the spiritual allies. It was the animals. It was his guides that were working on his behalf. The cancer was gone. I've had so many experiences that have happened like that within the shamanic realm that I can't count on my hands anymore, or my feet. And magic and miracles happening. So it's one of those things that it fascinates me. And so I'm hoping so. If any of you, like I said, if any of you guys have any questions or anything like that, don't hesitate to kind of pipe in. So the shamanic healing is one of the things that is a commonality, okay? So I want to kind of enter into, as far as ways that you can begin orchestrating the shamanic realm into your own personal life. So I want you to just take a moment and I want you to reflect on where you are in your life right now. What areas, what relationships do you have? What about your job? Okay? What about your partner, your significant other? What about your family? We're coming up on Thanksgiving. And think about where you've been. And just kind of do a bullet point timeline as far as what really brought you joy and what brought you to your knees. And what tools brought you out of, let's say, your darkest days. And what continues to bring you light, to make you happy, to bring you joy. Because the goal is always about personal empowerment, not from ego. Ego's there to kind of help rise you up and add fuel to your fire, because that's all correlated and related in with the solar plexus chakra, is your ego. It's your self-value, your self-worth. Now, we need our ego, but most importantly, the goal is to be able to come from the heart. It's the love, and it's that balance of having the fire, the courage to cultivate yourself forward, to rise up. Susan's saying helping others heal, which is awesome. Absolutely. And so when you think about, let's see, even where you've been, what challenges maybe you've faced just this year, okay? And then you think about where you want to be and go, let's say, the next month. How about in 2021, next year? Think about what changes need to take place in your own personal life. Not necessarily trying to change other people. Because sure, you're always going to have other people in your life that, well, if they would just be this way. Or if they would just act like this or say this, then my life would be better. Well, that's ideal, sure. But the thing about it is, you can't control other people. The biggest thing you can do is provide that gift for yourself, as far as your own personal transformation and personal empowerment, so that you can gain that insight and wisdom on your own behalf, which can really create a ripple effect and have a catalyst to change even for those around you. In one of my live sessions I did probably a few weeks ago, I talked about as far as having unfinished business. Let's say with a particular person or a situation. That's one of the things in the shamanic realm that you can work on in the spiritual arena or the spiritual realm. That, let's say you have a person in your life that you know you're done with. You don't need to talk to them anymore, but you know there's healing that needs to be done, or even maybe you had some unspoken words that hadn't been said yet. But you know in this earthly arena, you're not going to call them up. But it gives you the opportunity within the spirit shamanic realm of things to be able to have that conversation through a journey and through a meditation that's safe, especially safe to you, of shoring up those loose ends. And or even if you have someone in your life, let's say a family member, that you would like to have a better relationship with, or at least have the energy be better rather than dissonance or disharmony, you can work in the spirit realm and ask your guides, ask your angels to aid and assist as far as transforming and changing those relationships or that particular situation. And so it's one of those things that, yes, we always want instant gratification because we want the situation, the relationship to be better, the friendship to be better. Sometimes it's not, because it takes two, okay? And sometimes that other person is working through their own issues and the tissues. Sometimes you're the one that's working through your own issues and tissues. So it's really giving you the opportunity to work in the spiritual arena, spiritual realm, for that greater depth and level of understanding, but also healing and transformation. So think about someone that's in your life, a situation, once again, that you would like for, let's say, for it to be better. Okay? So just take a moment right now and kind of call them forth, just kind of in your mind's eye, as if they were kind of sitting or standing in front of you in a safe way, a healthy way. Okay? And think about if there's anything in particular that kind of comes forward that you would just like to share and express to them in a healthy and safe manner, in a safe way. Just for that guidance and just for that transformation and the healing. To find peace, one, within your own heart, within your own mind, and within your soul. And be led to share. And then invite them to share with you. And once again, call in your guides, call in your angels, call in your ancestors for that transformative healing and for additional power, protection, and support. That's one thing that Hank would always say before going on a journey. Call in power, protection, and support so that you feel amped up, you feel protected, you feel safe. So as you're holding this person in your mind's eye, just take a moment. And maybe you don't have any words to share, but it's an energy here, it's an emotion, it's a feeling. So I'm just going to give you just a few minutes, just to be able to provide that space and place for you just to be. And then also just kind of think about the end goal. Where do you want the energy to be? How do you want the relationship to be? I'll give you just a few minutes to be able to do that. And if you have a notebook handy, or even on your phone, jot down some of those pivotal, even nonverbal cues, how you're feeling, maybe where you're holding tension, tightness in your body, just for those additional insights, or even the ha-ha moments, or the blessings that can come out of connecting with another in the spirit realm for that healing. Now keep in mind, you can do this exercise even in the future, later on. And so even jot down as far as calling in power, protection, and support. Call in your allies, your guides, your angels, the ancestors. And those that you're wanting to connect with in the spirit realm, where you may have unfinished business and are seeking healing, peace, and harmony. That you may not feel so comfortable doing that in this earthly realm, or maybe you've tried and it's not getting anywhere, but you still have a yearning or desire for it to be better without the dissonance and disharmony. It's one of the beautiful ways that you can work with in the shamanic realm, journey, meditation time, to create a ripple effect and a change. I did this work, I started doing this work probably, oh my goodness, maybe 15 years ago. I went to a healer that opened me up to this type of exercise. And I was working with a family member that there was a lot of dissonance and disharmony, a lot of anger with me, just within me personally. And I thought, there's no way this is going to change. But I still had a deep desire of wanting it to be different. And this healer invited me to, like what we're doing today in the spirit realm, send them love. And I kind of pushed back, and I'm like, I do not feel love. I do not feel love. If anything, I feel anger. And I'm pissed, to be quite honest with you. Because it was such dissonance and disharmony and just at a roadblock, a standstill. And the thing about it is, had I not owned my feelings, I essentially would have just been pulling up the rug and just shoving it. So where in your life are you shoving? Really authentically what you're feeling. And I had to really recognize how much anger I did have. But yet that strong desire wanting it to be different. And it was out of my control. Because I had tried. And the situation wasn't getting any better. So I knew I had to let go. But I also had to let go on my own divine right. Which this is where I sought out a healer. Sometimes we need help and assistance from another. And she invited me for 30 days to send love. And I'm like, girl, I'm not feeling it. But she said, you know what love feels like. I'm like, yes, I do. And it was a real challenge for me. But the thing about it is, here's the thing, is that I did this exercise. I asked my guides and my angels, saying, you know what? I want it to be the highest and purest vibration of love, sending out to my family member. And I felt it, I gave it to them to send it. And lo and behold, it was about, oh my goodness, that was about 15 years ago. It was probably within, I had to let go as far as timing, because I knew I wanted the relationship to be better, to be different. And over time, over the years, and letting go and allowing spirit to have it, the relationship beginning to transform and change. And where it stands now today, we're communicating. We're loving each other. So sometimes you also have to let go as far as the timing of things, but still find it within yourself of that healing and knowing that your spiritual guides are with you, aiding and assisting, even sometimes when you're not feeling it, but you know you're still desiring for it to be better. So give yourself that opportunity. Give yourself the opportunity of knowing where you want to be, working with that energy every day, and feel it. It's one of those things that Joe Dispenza talks about as far as the brain work and mind over matter, and really being able to heal yourself, okay? And teaching your brain that sometimes it can get into a loop of fear, of worry, of doubt, anger, that type of thing, and honoring those emotions, but then working with your mindfulness and allowing it to come from the heart, but most importantly, you need to feel it. Like I said, I wasn't feeling love, but I knew what love felt like, and I had to go there. And then to be able to send it out to make the transition and change. And I had to let go of the timing. And it took several years, but other times I have seen instant gratification. So give yourself, every day, give yourself that opportunity to check in. One, with yourself. How's your heart feeling today? What's going on in your brain? What's happening? Okay? Where is it that you may be on a loop? And just sit, even just for 5 minutes, and tap in. Ask your guides or angels. And the other thing that's kind of fun with the shamanic realm is sometimes you can have animals show up just out of the blue. I've had hawks like fly in front of my car, or other animals, it's like random, like why does this particular animal, then look it up as far as online, as far as the spiritual meaning of a particular animal. But many of my shamanic teachers have said, oh goodness, okay, you can go to Google Land and look up the spiritual meaning of a particular number, sequence, or an animal that's showing up. But you can also do a journey to the middle world with that particular animal that keeps showing up and invite it to share with you, why are you personally showing up for me? And creating that connection on your own personal divine right to get that insight, on top of like reading it in Google Land, as far as from different websites that have put different meanings to the different animals that are showing up for you, or the different numbers that are showing up for you. So think about that too. So the other aspect, I'm trying to look to see, okay, we still have 10 minutes, which is awesome. My friend Rachel is getting ready to teach on astrology, so stay tuned because she's going to be coming through Illuminating the Soul as well if you want to learn the basics of astrology. She's awesome, by the way. She's sitting right here, so it's kind of fun. She's waiting. But anyway, so if you have questions, insights, once again, don't hesitate to kind of bring them up in the feed. And like I said, if I don't get to it today, I'll get to it as far as throughout the weekend. So it's one of those things too, as far as within the shamanic realms. I've talked about journeying to the lower, middle, and upper world. I've talked about soul retrieval and shamanic healing. I've talked about working with your spiritual allies and guides. And I've talked about as far as working with the community. So if you think about the dissonance that's happening today, you can create a little mesa or an altar space or place. And that's where a lot of times, if you have different crystals and stones, you can bring them in. And I usually will have like a small cloth in a designated area in my home or even my office space, and create almost like a portal for working with the energies that be, so that you feel like you're doing something. I have so many people when I'm doing my intuitive reading nights or different healing sessions that are like, I feel like I need to be doing something as far as to be able to change as far as the energy and shifting the energy. You can go do journeys and working with the energies and that are happening with different situations, with different, let's say the voting aspect of things, or knowing that you just desire for something to be different. But one of the things in creating a mesa is working with the different crystals and stones. When get a candle, have several different candles, or you can work with sage sprays as well, and really work on clearing the energy and transforming the energy and raising the vibration. A lot of times what I'll do is, like, this is a gold sheen obsidian piece. So it's dark in nature, but I know you guys can kind of see the sheen here. But the obsidian is a protection piece, but it also gets rid of any negative energy. So as you know, it's like yin yang, there's dark and light. And so there's lower vibrational energies and higher vibrational energies. And Susan, yes, this will be available to replay for later. Thanks for bringing that up. But the goal is to be able to find kind of balance and harmony. So a lot of times I will bring in a gold sheen obsidian or obsidian, tourmaline, black onyx piece, just to transform and kind of protect that energy into a higher vibration. But also work with like rose quartz or selenite, a candle to kind of illuminate, bring light to a dark situation or to a heavier situation that needs to kind of bring the heaviness up and out. I'll burn sage, I'll work with different sage sprays, and I'll work with the mesa like every single day. Sometimes I'll write down people's names or clients' names that need healing, and I'll have their picture, and I'll place that on my mesa to kind of hold space for their transformation and for their healing, wherever they may be, or even their family. Like so many families are going through COVID right now, and the numbers are astronomical, and those that have hit closest to home. So even if you know of someone, you can private message me, and I will add you or add them to my mesa. Or if you're going through a particular situation, it can just be even like an unspoken request. Okay, so it's just one of those things that I have a healing mesa, and like I said, I work with it every day. If you need me to hold space for you, private message me or even put it in the feed below, and I will hold space. and I'll let the crystals and stones, different guides and angels on your behalf essentially really provide that transformational healing for you, and however that needs to show up for you. And that's one of the things, once again, within the shamanic realms, is that's what the shaman does. Not only works with individual people, but also the community as a whole, of really helping raise the vibrations, of really helping provide that transformation of healing. So let me do that for you. If that's one thing that I can do, whether you come in for a healing session or even long distance, allow me to hold space for you in whatever ways that I can for your own healing and for your own transformation. So I feel like I'm complete, not unless you have specific questions in mind. I feel like I provided quite a bit of information in this very short amount of time. And I just want to thank Sylvia and Gigi and everyone behind the scenes of KC Metaphysical for really making this still possible, even amongst the COVID numbers going up. And I'm so grateful for the Kansas City and surrounding communities that are popping in today. And I do have on my Illuminating the Soul page, my Facebook page, I have over 100 pictures set up of all my retail that's available that you can purchase. I can ship, I can do door drop-offs, I can meet you someplace in a safe way. And I would love to be able to provide anything that you may be looking for retail-wise, inspirational gift-wise, that, like I said, I have a plethora of goodness that's happening. The other thing that I'm in the process of doing, and this is through my mentor, Tina Zion, that she essentially has really brought forward, that she says, you know what, you need to do this, is create intuitive art for your heart pieces that have kind of a medical intuitive uptake to it. So they're personalized hearts, painted hearts specifically for you. And I'm putting together the details as far as the pricing, the price points, the size, that type of thing. But it's a unique piece for you or someone that you love that will have almost like a healing vortex around it. And you can place on your wall, on your desk, in your bedroom, or wherever it may be, for healing and transformation for you personally or as a gift for someone else. I'll post it on my Illuminating the Soul Facebook page, so stay tuned with that. But once again, I just want to thank you for being with me today. You guys have been awesome and just really holding that space. And you can always go back to this video if you're just piping in, or even to essentially, want to watch it again and again. But I just want to thank you. It's from my heart to yours. And have a great day. Enjoy the fair. Enjoy the rest of the workshops. And once again, stay tuned if you want to know more about astrology. Miss Rachel Pearson's going to be here. So I'm going to finish this out, and I'm actually going to reactivate as far as another live video specifically for her right here. All right. Love you guys very much. Thank you so much. And we'll see you soon.